Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So you already heard a lot of great sessions that were given this morning and earlier on about Microsoft Teams, how it's being used in different ways. And what I wanted to do today or right now is talk a bit about a different aspect of Microsoft Teams. We're all using it every day on our computers, but I want to talk specifically more about the mobile experience of it. So a bit about myself. So my name is Haniel Croitoru. I'm a 4 times MVP, been working in the SharePoint space in Office 365 for nearly 20 years right now. I'm actually one of the early adopters of Microsoft Teams. I started using it even when it was still in beta, started using it within an organization, and we're really trying to figure out how to use it effectively. And here we are a few years later, and I've never really looked back. I've also do a lot of project management and product management, and what I've done is a couple of years ago, actually wrote a book called Agile Office 365 to help people in similar situations to manage projects and really understand how Office 365 can be used to deliver projects in agile fashions, and also how to use agile methods to run projects. Enough about that. If you want to get in touch with me, you have many ways to do so: LinkedIn, Twitter, through my work email, or on Regarding 365. I do a lot of blogging there as well. All right, so let's talk Microsoft Teams in the workplace. So since its inception, Microsoft Teams has been positioned as the hub for teamwork. It often includes functionality for chatting, audio, video, sharing content with your peers, basic task management. This is kind of the bread and butter when it comes to Microsoft Teams, and it's something that people have become very accustomed with. As well, there's a lot of extensibility available today, where you can start building applications, you can start adding tabs, and even integrate third-party tools that are available that you can then really turn Microsoft Teams, rather than just the basic file management and communications, to your everyday tool that you can go to, so you don't necessarily have to go to different places to get your information and complete your work. Now, when we look at Microsoft Teams, this chart is a bit old. It's about just over a year old, but as soon as Microsoft Teams started rolling out, it just exploded in usability. Right. So as of June 2019, there were over 13 million users per day on the system, using the functionality and seeing expansion. And this has literally blown up in the last 6 months or so since COVID. It's actually almost a year now since COVID started, COVID-19, and we've seen a surge to as much as 75 million daily users using Microsoft Teams. Now, a lot of that, as I said, happens on people working from home. They're working on the computer. Some people are still going into the office. But I want to kind of flip for a second and look at the other side of the spectrum, which is mobile devices. And as of about, again, these stats are about a year old. What you see, and this is no surprise to anybody, is that mobile devices are commonplace. They are becoming more and more popular every day in the workplace, our children. It's getting to the point where, and the stats I've done where, a lot of people, the first thing they do in the morning before they even get out of bed is they check their messages, they check their notifications, their emails. And the last thing they do before they go to sleep is, again, check their phone. And they check it literally everywhere they go. So there is that expectation today that whenever people are working in the office or wherever they are, that they have access to the information and they have it readily available on their mobile devices. And again, with COVID-19, things have changed. Where people used to work more in the office, now there are more people working remotely. Also, there has been a huge push for our frontline workers to really help out and be available longer times and provide more support than they normally would. And we've seen an increase of about 70% of mobile usage as of March 2020. So again, big impact. Now, despite all that, frontline workers or firstline workers are still underserved, and they represent a large majority of the actual user community when it comes to technology. So if you think about all those people that you interact with for any type of service that you go to, be it a bank, be it a hospital, be it anywhere, it's those frontline workers that you need to reach out to. And it is very unfortunate to see that they typically or traditionally have not been served sufficiently. And what are some of the challenges that they have been facing are things like feeling disconnected, right? So you take the person who's working in the field. They may only go into the office once every few weeks just to, to complete some forms or to meet with their manager. And that's when they get a chance to figure out and find out what's happening inside of their own company. They don't get to find out readily any news or events or information because that traditionally has not been available to the frontline workers. So they feel disconnected. The tools often that they work with are outdated. So even today, we still find a lot of fields where people are filling in paper forms. You lose the form or something is illegible or something happens, that information is lost. So it's really difficult to make sure that these people are not just engaged, but also that the work that they're doing is properly managed and tracked. And that is putting a lot of burden on the workers. It is putting a burden on the managers who have to then support them. And there's just complete discontinuity in how they work. And so Microsoft has been trying to make efforts, and Microsoft Teams Mobile is something I want to talk about today. I'm going to be showing some of the basic functionality, but I want you to think about what will the first-line worker experience be using the tools, right? And besides the basic device, Microsoft has gone beyond it, where they now support Microsoft Teams on wearable devices like phones. They actually have integrated devices that you can speak to Teams, and it can actually perform certain actions for you, placing a call, looking up information, having chats and discussions with somebody. And if you think about today, where everybody says, try not to touch anything, everything is about washing your hands and trying to be less contact, having this kind of technology is really, really important. It really helps these first-line workers complete their work in a safer way, in a more efficient way.
Mit dazu, wo Sie sicherlich auch Profiteur sein können aus dieser Krise. So wie wir natürlich auch.
So, sorry, I have somebody who's unmuted. Okay. So a number of features that Microsoft has recently rolled out specifically for first-line workers are things like customizable menus. So you ideally want to see on the menu the tools that you mostly need. So if you're looking at bookings or scheduling your shifts, you want to see that. Maybe calling. You may not have to do as much events or meetings, so you can remove them from your menu. Using the smart camera, so you can take pictures today with your Teams device, mobile phone, and use something called Office Lens, where it doesn't just take the picture, but it can also understand the picture. It can straighten it out. It can read information from the actual image and capture that as metadata. Again, saving you time. Walkie-talkie. So a lot of times people in the field may have gloves on, or they may not be able to operate an actual keyboard and enter information in detail. So having that walkie-talkie functionality makes it really quick for users to provide feedback. Sharing location, right? So literally with a mouse click, you can send a message to say, here is where I am. That's really important. If somebody's in the field and they want to say, hey, we have an emergency, can you please come here? They don't have to start typing information or anything. They literally just say location and they send it. Login and log off experience. So in many cases, you're going to have people in the field who are sharing devices. It's not their own. And so in the past, you'd have to go to your Office 365, log off. There may be multiple applications that are logged in. So that was a very tedious experience. Microsoft has solved that problem. And also when you start working in locations where connectivity might be poor, For example, people who are working inside of a mine or other remote areas that don't have readily available connectivity, you can still perform a lot of the tasks in Microsoft Teams that normally you would not be able to do because you had to be connected to the network all the time. So let's talk about some of the functionality and look at some examples. So chats, which is kind of the bread and butter of Microsoft Teams. So it allows you to create conversations. You can add rich context, as I mentioned, things like locations. You can do audio recordings of yourself. You can send praises and mention individuals. And you can also mark certain messages as important or urgent, and thereby you're actually raising awareness. So people know that it's not just Haniel sending you a message. It's like, I need you to look at this right now. So that's really important. And if you think about the Microsoft Teams ecosystem, how is it different from SharePoint or some of the other tools? It adds that messaging component to it and the meeting component. And so building something that is rich and easy to use on a phone means that I don't have to be sitting at the desk. I can deal with all those messages. Doesn't matter where I am. And then from a Teams perspective, so if I want to have discussions with my teammates on different channels, there's the concept right now of private channels. So if you want to provide information or have conversations with a subset, you can do that. You can pin your channel. So if let's say that you have a lot of teams, which a lot of us are now facing, is that there's that proliferation. So you may want to have a few channels that you are working with most frequently, and you want to pin those to the top. You can do that. What's nice is that if you do it on your desktop, it actually follows you right to the phone. So you don't have to make those configurations in two different places. So let me do a very quick demo of a couple of the basic features that we have in the Teams app on the phone. So I'm going to switch to my Teams. Interesting. My Teams. So right here, I'm going to be going into a channel, and I can, if I want to, for example, share my location, literally all I have to do is click on the location icon. And it shows me where I am located right now. But if I want to tell somebody, you know what, I want to actually meet me at the Newtonbrook Plaza school, and they're like, well, I don't know where that is, I can actually drag the icon right to it. And I'm going to say share location. And now you can see right away, it gives a location of where I am with the address and everything around it. And then users can actually find me more easily. Other types of information that I can do, for example, if I want to quickly take a picture. Okay, so I can take a picture of, I'm going to actually take a picture right of the screen. And then I can annotate my picture. I really like this one here. And then once I'm done with it, I can send it to the channel. Now, what's really important is when you're taking pictures inside of Microsoft Teams, they're actually not stored inside of your phone. They're directly stored inside of your tenant. And this is really important because if you're working on a corporate network, sometimes users or your IT department is worried about data loss prevention, right? If it's stored on a phone, it just means that if somebody leaves the organization, they can take that phone with them. They're going to have access to the picture. So not with Microsoft Teams. If you take a picture inside of Teams, it directly goes into your team. So those are some basic examples. And then, of course, you have all the lovely things like the GIFs, if you're into animals and all of that, you can easily add that information. Not a huge differentiator from other tools, but it's the basics that are available to you. Let's go back to Teams. All right. In terms of personalization, so it does allow you for a lot of customization. So first of all, working in multiple tenants. So as a consultant, I literally have dozens of tenants that I need to connect to on a regular basis. In the past, it meant that I had to log off, provide credentials, remember my credentials. It was a pretty big pain. Today, as you can see on the screenshot here, and I'm going to show you in a second, you can actually add multiple tenants into your Microsoft Teams, and it's as easy as a single mouse click to switch between one tenant and another. What's also nice is that notifications, so although it doesn't show me all the details, I can see on any one tenant if I have any messages that or any mentions that I have not yet viewed. Other types of settings that I have are things like, is there a quiet time, right? So maybe I don't want to be disturbed on the weekends or in the evenings. I can set that up. There's other types of settings like that to really make it, my own device and work the way that I want it to, that may be driven separately from how IT declares it. So let me go back to my device here, and I'm going to go back to my menu, and you can see right now here I have all these different tenants. Now, interestingly, I don't have any new messages, but I'm just going to switch over to my corporate tenant for Protiviti, and as you can see, it was literally a single mouse click, and I was now able to go into the tenant. Just going to go wait for that message to go away. Now let's go into settings. You can see already it changed my mode from on one tenant that was available. Now I'm busy on this particular tenant, so it changed my mode. If I want to change my general settings, for example, my notifications. So right now I have something called quiet hours set up. And this is where I can define what is my quiet time. So between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m., I don't want to be disturbed on Sunday and Saturday. And you have full flexibility. If I say, you know what, that's okay, I don't mind people contacting me at night, I'm going to turn that off. And you have multiple settings around notifications. What do you want to be notified about? Everything? Do you want to be notified about when people are just contacting you? You can also set it up so that the phone is not going to notify you if you're actively on your desktop. And that's just basically avoiding additional vibrations and disruptions that your phone might be causing when you're actually seated somewhere. So those are a couple of examples. We'll talk about dark theme in a minute. Data usage storage, you can actually decide, do you want to have your history or not shown, clearing it, and just clearing up basic information on your phone, like temporary files. There's a small database, you want to reset it. So those are some of the features. And then you can also, for your profile, gives you a bit of an overview. You can actually look at your org chart directly from the phone. So you don't even have to go anywhere to see the managing structure within the organization. So some basic settings like that you can easily control. Messaging, right? Do you want to send a read receipt, which basically shows a little eye that you've read it? Do you want to show channels? So lots of little settings like that you can do to really customize the solution to your specific need. Okay, we talked about that. All right, meeting management. So again, as I said before, one of the big things about Teams is being able to have messaging, conversations, and adding that component to what SharePoint and Groups offered for managing the content. So this is the communications component. So you can easily create meetings. You can create them directly from your phone. You can actually have meetings with multiple people at the same time on your phone, and even go as far as sharing content and running a meeting without people even realizing that you're not there. Things like blurring the background, which right now you can see on my video, my background is supposed to be blurred. You will soon be able to do all those things as well in your mobile device. But again, with meetings, it allows you to now walk away from your desktop and have those meetings. And what you can do is set it up in a way that once you leave your desk, you can actually transfer the conversations to your phone, so you don't have to actually hang up and then reconnect. And same thing for the presentations. You can actually run the presentation from your desktop device, and then you have the participation mode, basically, which allows you to then switch between the two different devices. So you can run the meeting, go take some screenshots, actually show video, and then come back to your desktop and continue the conversation from there. So let's have a quick look at that. So I'm actually going to see if I can call somebody. I'm going to make a video call with him. Let's see if he answers. No, he's away. Okay, I'm going to try somebody else. Okay, people are not available right now. Oh, he is available. Hey, Khaled, how you doing? So just to let you know, I'm doing a quick demonstration right now of Microsoft Teams and how you can actually share content and information. So I want to quickly share a presentation with you. So you don't have to do anything. I just needed to connect with someone. So let me quickly go here. And as you can see right now, I'm going to go share. And I could actually share my, I could share a photo. I could share a PowerPoint. So I'm going to take a PowerPoint. It now connects me to my OneDrive. It connects me to my SharePoint. And I want to say, you know what? I'm going to actually share the TeamFest presentation that I'm giving. And I'm going to share that with Khaled right now. So you can see it's loading. And there it is. So Khaled should be able to momentarily see the presentation. Okay. And then through the phone, I can actually go and scroll through my presentation that I'm giving you right now without actually having to be at the at the desktop or whatever. And this is really good because sometimes people are presenting at a large conference. They may not have a pointer available to them. And so rather than having to walk to the desktop all the time, they can actually use their mobile device to do that. So I'm going to stop sharing that. And I'm just going to quickly share you also. Can share my screen. So now Khaled will be able to see the actual screen that I'm seeing. So I'm going to say, hang up. Okay. Gonna allow this one. Okay. So you can share anything that you want on the screen or specific presentations. Thanks, Khaled. I'm gonna hang up now. Appreciate you being my guinea pig. Bye. All right. So as you can see, there's a lot of sharing capabilities that you can do in meetings, just like you would normally do them if you were at the desktop running the application. Extensibility. So this is where things really get interesting, and this is where I would say Teams stands out compared to other technologies that allow you to do chats and videos like WhatsApp or Zoom or some of the other ones. This is where things get really exciting. So if you think about Microsoft Teams, there's a concept of connectors. You can actually add connectors, or as you would normally see them as tabs, or in channels, you can have connectors into your chats, into your tabs, to bring information from different sources. You can bring in a single document, you can bring in a video feed, you can embed a SharePoint page. And then there's third-party partner applications that also offer integrations with Microsoft Teams. So this is already, taking it one notch higher, where in the past, if you wanted to access information from another system, you would have to leave Teams, go and open up another application just to read the information, then come back. Now, what you can also do is, and I'm sure you all have heard about Project Oakdale, and integration with the Power Platform. And even before that, you were able to create customizations for Microsoft Teams that allow you to build those domain-specific applications that our first-line workers really need. So if you're in healthcare and you want to maybe capture some key information about a patient, or if you're in retail and you want to be able to see information about stock, your inventory, right? So these are the kind of applications that you're not necessarily going to get off the shelf, but your IT department can actually build those tools for you to provide you that information. If you now also part of adding third party, Microsoft themselves are developing, obviously, and enhancing the tool all the time, what you can do is when you go into the settings, there's an option to do developer preview. And when you enable your developer preview, what it means is that you're going to be on receiving those changes even before they go live. Now you have to be ready to deal with situations where the Teams mobile may not work exactly as you're expecting it because they're still working on this particular feature. So let me show you a very quick example of some extensibilities. So if I wanted to right now do a survey, so it's literally as simple as selecting one of my add-ins. So if I go to, I don't have it here, so I'm going to try, let's see if I can add it in here, a survey. A form. Okay, so I'm going to actually create a survey for my team, and you'll see how easy it is to do directly within my teams. I don't even have to leave my mobile app to do that. So what is your favorite color? I can say red, green. Let's add one more. Blue. Next. It's actually showing me what the form is going to look like. I'm going to hit send. And so now everybody in the team is now going to have this form and they can submit a vote. And once they submit the vote, they can see, should be showing up momentarily. They should see the result that's going to be coming through. It's taking it a moment to process that. Okay, so right here you can see now the form and it gives you the result. So that's one example of a customization or extensibility for the team. Let me switch to another tenant and I'll show you another example that I built. And it's a very simple app. It doesn't do much, but it just showcases an example of here's a customization that you can have and bring it up directly within an app. So you don't have to go to you don't even have to leave the app to go to Power Apps or something else. So it's if you don't recognize this is a Power App. It's running inside of my team. You know, I can interact with it, do whatever I want, just like I would if I were to run it inside of the Power Apps player. So again, if you think about Firstline workers, this is huge. This means that now they have this single tool, Teams Mobile, that allows them to complete all of their work without having to then start switching between applications. So that's a very big win for them. Now, in terms of performance, so just a couple of things. When you look at Microsoft Teams mobile app, if it's not installed, there were some studies that were done that shows that on average, a phone, this is I believe an iOS, runs for about 18.8 hours on average. Once you install Microsoft Teams in the background, you'll see that there's a slight reduction in performance as expected because now the phone is running more applications. And then depending on the amount of the number of messages or chats or push notifications that are happening, you can see that the number goes down. So it goes down about 2 hours for, you know, almost 100 messages. So it's not huge, but where you do see a very big drop is when Microsoft Teams is running in the foreground. And one of the reasons is that the default theme is white. And basically it means that it lights up the entire phone with pixels. It takes a lot of energy. And so what Microsoft did is they actually introduced about a year ago, the dark mode. And literally what the dark mode, and that's what I'm running on my phone most of the time, what it does is it switches your colors, and you can then see that the time that your phone lasts, the battery life, has dramatically increased. So recommendation to you is, unless there are reasons you cannot use dark mode, love your battery, give it some love, turn on the dark mode. Some other offline capabilities that Microsoft is offering on the Teams mobile app that helps. Browsing, so you can actually browse your messages, your channels, your activities, your feeds, your content. All of that can be searched directly through the search bar within your Microsoft Teams app. In terms of composing and sending, so if you, let's say, are offline, you can actually write messages or responses, and what Teams mobile app is going to do is it's going to try to send it continuously, and it's going to try every little while. It's going to tell you that it failed, but eventually, once you're back on the network, it's going to send those messages. And then as you are going from a, let's say, a strong network to a poor network, or even you lose capabilities, there's a very clear banner that appears on your app that tells you, hey, your network has been degraded, or your battery is running low, or you've lost connectivity. And it's going to let you know that, so that if all of a sudden things don't behave, at least you know why. Now, to make it even better, there's other optimizations that Microsoft has introduced. One of them is there's something called the lower telemetry profile. So the moment that the Microsoft Teams app knows that it's not getting a strong signal, it's going to start pulling the backend less frequently. And what that allows it to do is essentially conserve the network traffic to only what is really needed. Also, what it's going to do is it's going to do an incremental sync. So rather than constantly syncing everything, it's going to do it only in small pieces. In terms of image optimization, so rather than downloading entire images, there's processing that happens at the back end, and only a small thumbnail gets downloaded in low resolution, enough for the phone, but not full fidelity. And the same thing is when things are getting uploaded. It uploads it in smaller resolution or smaller size. And then there's a non-disruptive experience, and this is really cool. When you are working on file upload download, if it's interrupted, it doesn't start over, it continues where it left off. If for whatever reason you're on a network and you get dropped from the network and there is cellular connectivity available, or you go from a cellular connectivity and you enter a Wi-Fi zone that is available to you, Microsoft Teams will switch the call for you. It'll tell you that you were dropped, and it will reconnect you right away to the other network. So again, think of the first-line workers. This is really going to help them so they don't have to worry about dealing with the situations. Let the technology deal with those scenarios. Another few things that in the field users might see. So delegated user management. So as people are kind of changing roles and they need to remove access or change credentials. The problem is that in the past, it used to be a lot on the user, and IT had to manage it. So now this new experience actually lets you do it directly for the manager. So they can delegate it to management to control who has access to what information. Single sign-in with phone numbers. So we all forget phone passwords, right? This is very common. But phone numbers are typically remembered more frequently. So one of the problems is that if you're sharing a device, or let's say that you're a first-line worker working in different locations and every one of them gives you a different username and password, it's hard to remember. If you have a phone number, you can actually set it up so that every time you want to log in, you provide your phone number, it sends you a one-time password for you to log in to that device. Once you've used it, the next time you're going to get a different password. So then again, that allows you more easily access for getting into the device when you need to, and not get bogged down with remembering passwords. Global sign out of shared devices. So I already mentioned about that a little bit. So imagine people who are moving between different locations. They have a mobile device, they have to give it back. Somebody else wants to get into it. Now, if you're logging into Microsoft Teams and then the backend, it connects you to SharePoint and maybe Outlook and other applications, all of a sudden you're authenticated across all of these ones. So now if you need to move to leave your post, you now need to go and actually log off of all of these services. That was a bit tedious, and sometimes if you forgot to log off of one service, all of a sudden you're actually still logged in to the other ones, and they can re-authenticate. And so what Microsoft did is it allows it a single sign-out experience where you can essentially say, I want to log off, and it's going to log you off of all of the Office 365 services in one shot, and then you hand over your device to the next person, and you know that your credentials have been cleared. You're not logged in anywhere else. All right. The last thing I want to touch on is something called Teams for Life. So this was released a little while ago, where instead of just having teams focus on the work, why not use it for personal life as well, right? Because we communicate. We still have WhatsApp and Facebook and other tools. So we still need to chat with others. We still need to share information, right? So it may not be a requirements document for a client, but maybe it's a shopping list, or maybe it's some other document you want to share with some individuals. So this is where Teams for Life, or Microsoft has released something called Teams for Life for personal tasks. So it allows you to add your contact. You can actually add a personal account. So if you have a Hotmail account or any personal account that is associated with a Microsoft account can be added. And then you can have similar chats like you have for corporation. You can have one-to-one or one-to-many. You can have video chats. You can share content from OneDrive. You can do the location sharing. All of that, which you can do with your corporate version, you can also do in the personal version. Something else that the tool offers for personal is something called the safe. And the safe essentially allows you to store your personal information. So sorry about that. Personal information that you may not readily remember. So let me quickly show you the personal version. So now I'm going to quickly log into my personal tenant. Okay, so I just set it up a couple of days ago, so I'm not actually connected to anybody yet, but I can go to my safe. You can see right here on the bottom, and I can say continue. It tells me that it stores everything securely. Let's hope I remember my password. There we go. So now I can say I want to add. What do I want to add into my safe? So I can do login credentials. I can do passwords that may or may not be specific to a login. Maybe there's some frequent file number or membership information, driver's license, other types of accounts, all this information that a lot of people have to carry cards that today you may not need to actually have a physical card. You just need to have a number available. You can actually start storing this information inside of your safe so that if ever you're caught without your wallet or you need something that is not readily available, you can actually access it directly from here. So that was a very quick overview, and I wish I would have had more time to talk about some of those key features, and again, focusing more on the frontline workers for the Teams mobile app. So I'm going to turn it over to questions now.
Hello, Adam Deltinger here. We had a little problem with our moderator. He had some kind of electrical problem here, so he had to jump out for a little bit. I don't know if you see any questions. Have you mentioned the walkie-talkie app, or did I miss it?
Yeah, briefly I mentioned it. I can actually see if I can show it. So I'm going to switch over to my personal tenant. Give me 1 second. So just 1 second. Here we go. I'm going to go to post. It's not turned on here. There's so many tenants, sometimes it's hard to find the one that has all the information I need. Yeah, I don't see it here right now. Just 1 second. Yeah, it's not turned on right now, so I can't actually show it. But basically what the walkie-talkie is, it has a single button, and when you hold the button, it allows you to, oh, here it is actually, I do have it. So if I were, I'm going to select the channel that I want to talk to. So I'm going to select the general channel. And now what I do is if I hold down the button, I can actually say something, and then anybody who's in the channel will be receiving the message, but since nobody else is connected, nobody's actually receiving my messages. So that's what the walkie-talkie is for. And again, this is really good functionality. Imagine I'm wearing a thick, even if I have a glove that can be used on a touch screen, a glove still doesn't allow me the dexterity to press small keys on a keyboard. So in this case, you know, that's one way you can do that. Good question. Let's see if there's any other questions.